Who's your favorite coach? I mean, as you said, all the Texas head coaches are up there. Who's your favorite to listen to? Because there is definitely some different styles and different, I guess, personalities.
It's a great question. I'm going to get text messages for answering. I would probably say it's Sonny Dykes because maybe it's just because I kind of align more with his beliefs of what college football is, but he's a pretty honest guy. He doesn't give you a lot of coach speak.
He's blunt. Yeah.
He'll tell you what you think. He'll talk big picture stuff. And I enjoy kind of listening to that. And I think it's refreshing in a world where you're getting a lot of PR most of the time.
Will you get as many text messages as when you put out the Eric Morris quote on the Pac-12?
Yeah, well, probably because that only attended a conference that I know nobody in. This one is picking favorites with 13 guys that I
True.
What do you gather from the way that the coaches the college coaches come to this thing in Moss and kind of get in front of these high school coaches? What are they mostly talking about outside of this is how we run RPOs at SMU kind of a thing?
I mean, a lot of it's kissing the ring, like the THFDA is a mafia, and I don't think that they would take offense from that, and this is kind of the yearly shindig, right, where they get together and they discuss the yearly revenue and like what's going to happen and what their big goals are. I think for a lot of it, the college coaches get together and they have a meeting with the THFDA kind of leadership, like Joe Martin and West and those guys. And I think one of the big deals is talking about like how to keep more and more of the in-state talent in state. The high school coaches are very into what they call straight line recruiting, where you recruit through them. You don't go through agents. You don't go through trainers. Like the point of contact for these players needs to be the head coaches. They have the best interest in mind, et cetera, et cetera. And I think some of the college coaches have a pushback of like, that's great. You want us to like do this straight line recruiting and, you want us to recruit your kids in a certain way, but like, why are half of the best players in the top 20, top 50, like going out of state? Like how do y'all help us recruit these kids? Steve Sarkisian kind of had a statement about that of, if I'm going to lose a guy in state, I'd love to lose him to A&M or to SMU or to Texas Tech. And some of that's because he doesn't want to play him at LSU or Ohio State or Alabama. But I think some of that is also, it makes it easier if you're only competing against your other peers, I suppose. And, this state's always had like a mass exodus of talent. And it's why we don't have as many like national championships as maybe the talent level would suggest the state of Texas should. It's just such a big state with so many schools, and then Oklahoma comes in and LSU comes in, Alabama comes in. So I think they just talk about big picture stuff like that, like what the college coaches can do to help the high school, realm, and what the high school coaches can do to kind of help the college football realm, and just stay on the same page about NIL and rev share and all those kind of dirty words that are getting thrown into the mix now.
I'd like to, since you brought it up about Texas and the state not having as many national championships, I think part of it is because of what you said. I think that's a large part of it, that especially like just Oklahoma alone dipping down into Texas and cherry picking what they wanted forever has been a huge issue. And then you add in everybody else coming in and getting what they want. I would also say that the Southwest Conference really hurt that, in that, especially in the 80s, when the other schools around the country were kind of focused on how do we win our conference and then beat up on each other. The Southwest Conference didn't care about beating anybody but themselves, and ultimately it hurt them because they couldn't be bothered to know what Notre Dame or Florida State or Miami or Ohio State were doing, because all that mattered was the jockeying of, I've got to beat these guys that I'm in the oil business with, kind of a thing.
And I think for a lot of the young people right now, like the world's smaller than it's ever been. Like it's easier to go out of state than it was in 1988 or 1998 with FaceTime and social media. And, you can get on the sticks and play a video game against your brother back at home, and just talk to him and chat with him. Like, and now you're getting paid, so it's easier to fly mom out. Hell, if you want her to, she can come live out there with you, right? Like if you're getting paid $1 million by Texas Tech to transfer there, like your family can come live with you for Lubbock for a year if that's really what you want to seal the deal. So I just think it's easier than ever to go out of state, and the coaches understand that. They're just trying to win, and they want to keep all the good players in house if they can.
Mike Craven, Dave Campbell's Texas football. Mike, what's the next big story you're working on?
What's nice about THSCA, like I said, you get all 13 of these coaches, so you can kind of run one off of each one. And so I'll probably just use the stuff I got from there and kind of sprinkle it out between now and kind of the start of the season. And this is kind of the time to start. I always look at that event as kind of the unofficial start of the season. And so now it's starting to look ahead. And, week 1, Texas, Ohio State. So I'll probably write something about the last time Texas played at Ohio State in that game with Lyman Sweet catch. It's just kind of all right. I'm kind of formulating those things as we speak. So to be determined.
You wrote earlier this week about SMU a couple days ago and them year 1 in the ACC making the college football playoff. How do they avoid a drop-off this year now that people see them coming?
I'm not sure they can. I think that there's a realistic possibility that SMU is a better football team in 2025, but has a worse record. Their non-conference is tougher. They play Baylor at home. They go at TCU in a game that's going to be huge for both of those fan bases. It's the last scheduled Iron Skillet. Obviously, last year SMU trounced TCU. Sonny Dykes gets ejected in that game. And so there's going to be a lot riding on that. So they have a tougher non-conference schedule. And then you go at Clemson, you play Miami. You didn't play either of those in the regular season. So let's say you split the Big 12 non-con and then lose to those 2 games. You could be 9-3 at the end of the year and still feel like you're a pretty good football team and it won't look like you improved at all. So I think for SMU right now, what I find fascinating is their transition from a very portal-based model. When Sonny got there at SMU, 7-8 years ago, I think his feeling was, and he was right, the type of talent we need to win conference championships, we can't get through recruiting. We're going to have to get through the portal. So they went ahead and built a roster that won 10 games for the first time in 40 years. That won the American Athletic Conference. That just got you the AAC or ACC championship in year 1 through the portal. But they don't want to do that every year. They saw Florida State and what happened there, and they know it's going to be volatile. You're going to be up, you're going to be down. And now with RevShare, the talent in the portal isn't as talented as it was 5 years ago. You're able to keep players at an Iowa State and those type of programs that maybe you weren't previously because you can pay them. So they want to start recruiting the way Texas does and Texas A&M does. And if you look at their class this year, they beat Oklahoma for a few commitments. They got a flip from an LSU commit. They're starting to kind of swim in some waters that, I was born in 1985. It's crazy to me that SMU is able to do this kind of stuff. It feels like make-believe, right? This is a story my uncles told me that I never believed, SMU being good. And so it may not happen this year, but I do think that they're going to be more and more talented, and they're just trying to bulk up the roster, and they'll be interested to see kind of the short-term versus long-term success they have as they transition between these 2 models.
What is, now that SEC Media Days is over, what's the sense that you get from A&M on how Mike Elko's culture has taken maybe a deeper root in year 2?
Yeah, I'm trying to say this without sounding too mean. Texas A&M just needed an adult in the room, and Mike Elko has provided that. You don't hear. When's the last time you saw an off-season thing about A&M? They stay out of the way. Their players don't get in trouble. You don't hear a bunch about that. They're not making any unnecessary headlines and talking about things that they probably shouldn't, that all of a sudden becomes bulletin board material. They're just going about their business. And I think that's what they wanted in Elko. They wanted more of an R.C. Slocum defensive coach who just kind of had some maturity about him. You've seen the recruiting. They have a top 5 recruiting class in 2027 or 2026 right now. And Elko says it takes about a year to really get he calls recruiting a 2-year process. And so now they have their hooks in some guys, and they're starting to get some wins on the recruiting trail. So, I don't know if it'll be this year. I think that probably depends more on Marcel Reed than anything. But I do think A&M is moving in the right direction and has some confidence to it that it's going to allow us to see if they're able to reach their ceiling in a way that I don't think the previous coaches in the last 10 or 15 years have really given them a chance to.
I'm